Burnout is not what keeps most women stuck. Burnout is not what keeps most women stuck. The thing keeping many high performing women stuck is that the behaviors creating the burnout are still being rewarded. Think about this for a second. You work through lunch, you get praise. You answer emails at 10 p.m., you get praise. You put everyone else's needs before your own, you get praise. You say yes when you're exhausted, you push through fatigue, you get praised. You ignore your body, you get praised. Then one day you're completely depleted and everyone wonders, hey, what happened? But nothing suddenly happened. You simply arrived at the destination your habits were always taking you toward. And if you don't understand this, you'll spend years trying to recover from burnout while unconsciously recreating it at the same time. Today, I want to talk about what actually keeps high performing women stuck in burnout because it's probably not what you think. And once you see it, you'll start making very different decisions. Here's my opinion. Many high performing women are not addicted to achievement. They're addicted to the feeling achievement gives them. There's a difference. Achievement itself isn't the problem. Success isn't the problem. Ambition isn't the problem. The problem begins when accomplishment becomes your primary source of validation, safety, significance, identity, or even worth. Because then productivity stops being something you do, it becomes who you are. And when productivity becomes identity, burnout becomes incredibly difficult to escape from. Let me explain. Imagine two women, both work very hard, both lead teams, both are ambitious, both carry deeply. They care deeply. The first woman says, I work hard because I enjoy creating impact. The second woman says, I work hard because slowing down makes me uncomfortable. From the outside, they may look identical, right? Inside, they're living completely different experiences. One is driven by purpose, the other is driven by nervous system conditioning. And that distinction changes everything. A woman once told me something I will never forget. She said, Rita, I don't know how to relax. Not because she didn't have the time or the luxury, because she genuinely didn't know how. The moment she sat down, she felt restless. The moment she rested, she felt guilty. The moment she stopped producing, she felt anxious. She wasn't burnt out because she worked hard. She was burnt out because her nervous system had learned that movement meant safety. Achievement meant safety. Productivity meant safety. Stillness felt threatening. And that's where many women live. Let's talk the neuroscience for a bit. Every time you accomplish something, your brain rewards you. Ding! You check the box, complete the task, hit the target, receive recognition, finish the project, and your brain will release that beautiful dopamine. Dopamine isn't the reward chemical, it's the anticipation chemical. It motivates pursuit, progress, achievement, momentum, which is powerful, wouldn't you agree? Until it becomes your primary coping strategy, because then accomplishment becomes emotional regulation. You don't slow down when you're stressed, you work. You don't process emotions, you work. You don't address overwhelm, you work. You don't feel, you perform. And eventually, performance becomes your armor. This is why many women experience something fascinating. They can handle crisis remarkably well, but struggle deeply with quiet. Have you ever noticed that within yourself or maybe someone that you may know? Everything is falling apart, and somehow they become this superhuman, focused, organized, effective, calm. But give them a weekend with no responsibility, and anxiety starts creeping in. Why? Because the busyness was never the problem. The busyness was the distraction. So, this pattern doesn't just affect your energy, it affects your identity. When your self worth becomes attached to achievement, you begin outsourcing your value. Your confidence becomes dependent on your results. Your peace becomes dependent on performance. Your self esteem becomes dependent on productivity. That's a dangerous place to build a life because results fluctuate. Markets change, businesses change, children grow up, careers evolve, roles shift. life changes. And if your identity is built entirely around doing, you may not know who you are when you're no longer doing. Does that make sense? This is one reason burnout can feel so frightening. It's not just physical exhaustion, it's often an identity crisis because the strategies that have helped you succeed are suddenly no longer working. That harder the push, the worse you feel. The more you achieve, the less fulfilled you become. The more recognition you receive, the emptier it feels. And your nervous system begins asking a terrifying question. If I'm not the achiever, then who am I? So here's something else nobody's talking about, or maybe not talking about it enough. Burnout often survives because it's socially rewarded. Think about our culture for a second. We celebrate busyness. We celebrate hustle. We celebrate sacrifice. We celebrate overwork. We even celebrate being everything to everyone. We rarely celebrate recovery. We rarely celebrate boundaries or sustainable success or emotional well being. So many women receive applause for the very behaviors that are exhausting them. And applause is powerful, right? It reinforces these patterns, even unhealthy ones. So let's talk about what truly keeps burnout alive. It's not work overload. It's not your calendar. It's not your inbox. It's not your responsibilities. It's the inability to interrupt the cycle because burnout is often a loop. Stress, push harder, temporary stress, validation, exhaustion, stress, push harder, temporary stress, validation, exhaustion, repeat, repeat, repeat. The cycle feels productive, right? Even just saying it until the body can no longer sustain it. This is where nervous system regulation becomes essential because many women attempt to solve burnout cognitively. They think, I just need better time management. How many times have I heard that? I just need a new planner. I just need more discipline. But burnout isn't usually a planning problem. It's often a physiological pattern. Your body has been conditioned to operate at a pace it was never designed to sustain indefinitely. And until the body learns safety outside of productivity, recovery remains temporary. So I want to introduce you to a concept called earned rest. Many people believe rest must be earned. Have you noticed that? I'll rest when everything is done. I'll rest after this project. I'll rest after this launch. I'll rest after this season. But here's a problem. Everything is never done. There's always another project, always another responsibility, another goal, another demand, another expectation. If rest depends on completion, you'll never arrive because life is not a checklist. It's an ongoing relationship. So the healthiest high performers I've ever met understand something differently. They don't see reward or they don't see recovery as a reward. They see recovery as a requirement. They see recovery as a requirement. The same way an athlete understands recovery. No elite athlete trains at maximum intensity every day. So why are we doing it? Why? Because adaptation actually happens during recovery. It's actually happening during deep sleep while you're recovering. And the same is true for leadership. The same is true for emotional well-being. The same is true for performance. And the same is true for life. Let's do something together right now. Let's take a slow breath in through our noses and a longer breath out. Again, breathe in as slow as possible, really filling those lungs, engaging that diaphragmatic breath. And then when you exhale, I invite you to breathe out with a gentle sigh through the mouth. Inhaling a little slower, a little deeper than usual, and then releasing with a gentle sigh out through the mouth. Keep breathing in a little slower and then letting it go. And now I invite you to ask yourself, Who would I be if I stopped proving my worth through productivity? Don't answer immediately. Who would I be if I stopped proving my worth through productivity? Don't answer immediately. Just notice what comes up. Because for some women, that question creates relief. For others, it creates fear or maybe even anxiety. And that fear or anxiety tells us something really important. Here's your challenge. At the end of each day, instead of asking, what did I accomplish today? How many things on my to-do list have I checked off? Ask, how did I support my well-being today? Notice what happens. Notice the shift. Because what you measure influences what you prioritize. What you measure will influence what you prioritize. And what you prioritize shapes your habits and ultimately your life. So the truth is, most high-performing women are not stuck in burnout because they're weak. They're not stuck because they lack resilience or they lack discipline or that they don't know enough. They're stuck because the very patterns that created their success, that were so crucial to their success, are now creating their suffering. And that's difficult to see because when something has helped you succeed, it's hard to question it. But growth often requires us to outgrow strategies that once served us, even successful ones, especially successful ones. Because the goal isn't to become less ambitious. Of course not. It's who we are. The goal isn't to care less. The goal isn't to lower our standards. The goal is to create a version of success that doesn't require sacrificing yourself to achieve it. A version where achievement and well-being can coexist. A version where performance is supported by recovery. A version where your nervous system doesn't have to pay the price for your accomplishments. Because the greatest success isn't building a life that looks good from the outside. It's building a life you actually have to enjoy, and you actually have the energy to enjoy it. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Which burnout pattern do you recognize most in yourself? And if you know a woman who has mastered achievement but has forgotten recovery, share this video with her. It may change the way she defines success forever. Until next time, remember, you don't need to become less driven. You simply need to stop making your well-being the price of your ambition. I'll see you next time. Your Breathwork Barista signing off. Ciao for now.